Our good friend Alex McGrath joins us. Alex, what's up, man? How are you?
Doing good, bud. Sorry about the technical issue there.
No, you're good, man. How was the weekend? Obviously, I guess you watched the game, but yeah, we haven't talked to you in a week. So what's going on, man?
Just enjoyed the long weekend. Got some yard work done. Watched like 12 hours of college football on Saturday. It was a delightful day.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And I know we'll be linking up a little bit later this week. We got to go. By the way, we got to go play some golf sometime. That's a little bit of a side note, but we do have to make it work out.
Agreed.
Yeah, we got to go. We got to go swing them. Anyways,
We'll
man,
find a day.
yeah, we'll make it work for sure. Anyways, though, really excited to get you in here, Alex. We're talking what happened over the weekend, looking ahead to this weekend. And I feel like we've broken this thing down and dissected it each and every single way you can to this point. But again, I'm really excited to just get your perspective. Let's just start the elephant in the room, right? The offense, and specifically what you saw from them. I talked a little this morning. I think one of the bright sides, you win this game, Alex, 35-14. And if I would have told you a week ago that would have been the score, we would have all been ecstatic, right? We'd have been elated. But then you watch how the game unfolded. And you watch what the offense did. I'll just ask you this question because I know you've seen the reaction. You and I have texted back and forth, but you see social media. You get kind of a feel on what the pulse of Gamecock Nation is. Do you feel like the expectations were too high? Was the hype and momentum? Was it an unfair amount? Was it just a level of expectation that nobody be able to meet? Because I do think that's interesting. I talked to Chris Doring, and that conversation will drop tomorrow on the podcast. But it is kind of funny. It's not just South Carolina. You look across the SEC, right, at all these different games. And unless you're Georgia beating Oregon 49-3 or you're Florida upsetting Utah, the tough thing about week one is this. When you're playing a quote-unquote inferior opponent, there's so much hype and energy going into week one. Alex, it's almost like you can't win by enough. You know what I mean? You can't win by enough to satisfy your fan base. So do you feel like now sitting here today, there was too much hype and too high of expectations for a game one where we see it all the time in week one? It is truly unpredictable.
Well, I mean, no. Because of the pieces you had coming back. So I think everybody expected to just roll the ball out there and push somebody around. And that obviously didn't happen, at least on the offensive side. That didn't happen. And I think it's just like, how do you go in there and like correct that mistake? And is that mistake even like correctable at this point? Because it's like the same issues that popped up last year kind of reared their head in this first game. And I'd love to get your perspective on this too. Is like, because I listened to a little bit of the show with Steven yesterday, but just like the game plan just seemed odd. Like there wasn't. It was like we weren't. It seemed very conservative, and I don't know if that is on purpose or what that's about. But to me, it just seemed incredibly conservative coming out of the gate. Where you're not taking a ton of deep shots. You're not, and I don't know if that's playing off one or the other. But it was an odd watch, to put it lightly.
And listen, Alex, like I'm gonna expose myself as not a football guy by trade, right? I didn't play it past freshman year of high school, whatever. I mean, I did not play it in college like you, or certainly anything beyond that. Like I understand, right? When you go play, oh, we just lost Alex here. What happened? We just lost Alex. Maybe he got a call. Here we go. Muschamp Hackers. Here we go. Hot on a Tuesday. Muschamp Hackers are hot. I don't know. Alex is hold on, Alex. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Muschamp Hackers hot on a Tuesday. Muschamp Hackers did not like what Alex McGrath had to say there. Let's see. We're going to try to get Alex back in. Here we go. For some reason I got nothing. Hold on. We're gonna take him off here. We're gonna bring you back in. I got nothing. I hear nothing. We got no audio. No sound for the guy, Alex McGrath. Just try to exit out and come back in. Yeah, just try to exit out and come back in. All right, we're gonna get Alex McGrath back in here. There we go. All right, he just logged out. We're gonna get him back in. I don't know. Braddock 843, ever get to Florence? Maybe a remote from Rivals. We got our merchandise in Rivals. We got our merchandise in Rivals. A remote show could be cool, Braddock. A remote show could be cool. Let's try this again. I got nothing. Where's the audio, my guy? Where's the audio? Are you muted? I'm going to try to mute you and unmute you. Technical. I'm going to refresh my side as well. His feed. I still got nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I still got nothing. I don't know. That is very strange. Are the AirPods alive, my guy? The AirPods are working. Yeah, they're good. Let's see. That is so weird. It just cut out of nowhere. As I post this tweet, letting everybody know that Alex is in here. Again, we're working through technical issues on a Tuesday. I don't know what's more dysfunctional, Alex's service and audio or this Gamecocks offensive line. I don't know. Here we go. I think I can hear you. Yes, we're good.
All right.
Yes. I don't know what happened. I was just saying, Alex, I don't know what's more dysfunctional, the technical side of things right now or the Carolina offensive line. Either way, though. Just getting back to, again, though, I'm exposing myself as not a football guy by trade. The point I was going to make is this. I understand going into like a game one, you don't show all your cards. You don't just throw the kitchen sink at Georgia State. You want to save your good plays or not open up your playbook before going into SEC play. But it's just when people tell, like, I hate when fans say that after, I feel like that's the excuse used after an underwhelming performance against a team you should be able to have a lot of success against, right? Like if you go out there against Charlotte or SC State, same thing, and the offense doesn't look good. Well, we just were holding back, man. We weren't trying to show all our cards. And, well, I don't care if you don't want to show all your cards, Alex, but play the right cards in the process. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just, I guess that was what made me so frustrated watching that. And just feeling like you had all this hype, positive momentum going into week one. Listen, you got the dub. You're 1-0. Who cares? We're going to stop beating a dead horse in just a second and talk about week two. But in that game specifically, the Georgia State game alone, I just felt like it was a great opportunity in front of a sold-out crowd to flex your muscles a little bit, show off your shiny new toys. And like you mentioned, the game plan, very vanilla, very conservative a lot of the times. And with the right execution, it may have resulted in big plays, but it wasn't there. And it just felt, like you said, it almost felt like a carryover from the spring game. Like a lot of Does anybody love swing passes more than Marcus Satterfield? I mean, is that just like he stays up at night just having dreams about throwing a swing pass? Like, we love throwing a swing pass. I don't know. It left a lot to be desired, bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main takeaway. It was just, we just didn't really do much. And and again, it's just like, is that by design or kind of we dealing with these same issues again? And I don't know what the answer to that is. It just seemed like, especially like in the passing game, it was just like not to take really any deep shots that looked to be by design. I mean, certainly, Spencer hit that one deep ball when he was rolling out, but I mean, that was not the play call. So I don't know. It just looked odd.
Well, on the positive, Alex, let's just say this about the offense. I think you can see, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it, there are weapons there. I mean, Spencer Rattler showed his talent. He showed his ability. If not for that, you would have been in a really tough spot. I think him rolling outside of the pocket, you can see why he was regarded as such a highly rated player. He's an elite thrower of the football. That throw he had down the sideline of Jalen Brooks, not many guys can make that throw. I loved what he could do on the move. I thought Marshawn Lloyd looked healthy. Again, Jalen Brooks emerged as a guy that maybe he can be a contributor week in, week out. Antoine Wells with 7 catches. Jaheim Bell's a versatile guy that should give SEC defenses nightmares. I think Stogner will be more part of the game plan moving forward. Josh Vann had an off night, but he's somebody you feel like you can depend on. I do feel like the pieces are in place if, and it's a big if, the offensive front can give you a chance.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. To watch, Brooks had that night. You look at Antoine Wells playing like he played. Again, to your point, like Josh Vann had one catch, but I think he really only had 2 targets, right?
Yeah. I think the final one was that one that hit him right in the chest and he dropped it.
That was tough.
I
But that's all right.
just chalk it up. It just wasn't his night. I don't know. It just wasn't his
Yeah.
night. Bottom line.
I think Stogner only had like 1 or 2 targets. So it was, and that, I guess that's really what I mean by it was just kind of like a weird, like the things you would think you would come out and feature weren't featured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we weren't, like we had a lot of success throwing Jaheim Bell vertical routes and post patterns last year. We didn't do that once. And curiously, he was lining up at running back a lot. And I'm all for getting your best players the ball as much as you can get them the ball. But it's just like I'm watching that. It was just like very curious to me. And I don't know, again, if that was by design or like what the strategy was there.
How shocking were the offensive line issues to you in watching that game? Like how surprised were you that it was such a glaring issue?
Well, I texted you earlier in the game, just like where the pass protection looked pretty good from the O-line at first, and then it was just like we couldn't run the ball at all. And then like the pass pros started to break down in the second half a little bit too. So I mean that was like shocking is probably too strong of a word because we've seen it before. You just kind of assume like the longer somebody's in a program, getting more comfortable with the protections and the play calls and the sets and everything that you kind of goes into that, especially with the cohesiveness of having worked like with the same quarterback since the spring all the way up through fall camp and into game 1. It was disappointing, but that doesn't mean it can't get better. And we'll definitely have a better idea of that this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to know after these next 2 weeks, Arkansas and Georgia. Again, we talked about in the preseason, nowhere to hide, right? You're going to find out if you don't improve, you will get exposed. Moving to the defensive side, Alex, we sat here again a week ago to the date. We felt confident about the defense at all 3 levels. We felt like this was a football team that would be able to rely on the defense week in, week out. I think what we saw Saturday was pretty much par for the course. I thought after, and you knew Georgia State was going to have a good game plan. They were going to have that first drive scripted. They were going to be able to run the football to some degree, right? Because that's just what they do. Outside of that first drive, I thought the defensive line really took over the football game. You got Georgia State in a lot of 3rd and longs, like we talked about, was so important, especially in that second half. You made life really tough on them. I thought the linebackers were flying around. Brad Johnson, Mo Kaba, Debo Williams making plays. Jordan Strawn was making plays. And then your secondary, Cam Smith doing Cam Smith things. Marcellus Style has the pick. Thought he played really well. You even saw some young guys like Nicky Menwore and Stone Blanton, Kawan Banks, DQ Smith making a play on special teams. All in all, though, sticking on the defensive side, I think the defense, again, par for the course. You're not going to draw any conclusions no matter what from week 1. But, I think it's safe to say Clayton White is going to feature a unit week in, week out that most of the time, if not all of the time, I'm going to go into a game and say the defense is going to give us a very good chance to win a football game.
100%. I mean, even because they went 70 yards on that first drive that ended in 0 points. And then for the next, I don't know, what was that, 55 minutes of the game, the defense gave up 230 yards. So, I mean, yeah, they played really well. A few too many pass interference penalties for my liking and several more that could have been called. So that's something that's got to get cleaned up. But, I mean, I thought they played great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got no complaints about the defense. I agree with you, the secondary. But week 1, like I said, I've got no complaints. I thought they did a great job of, limiting the run, which it's funny, though, Alex. Like, you look at the box score, right? You look at the box score, and I'm like, why are we the kings of ugly box scores, right? We ran for 3.3 yards per carry. I mean, Georgia State outgained you in the football game, Alex. Like that.
They did.
Like really hard to wrap my brain around. And again, I'm just like, why do we, I don't know. It reminded me so eerily much of a box score from last year where it's like, we couldn't run the ball. Hey, even we stopped the run better. We gave up 200 rushing yards on the ground. Granted, that's all they could do, but I don't know. Just kind of interesting. Now, what really, Alex, took over the night, Beamer ball. Obviously, hey, great night for the brand, man. Great night for the brand. Great night for, hold on, we lost your audio again. This might have been a me issue too, because my mic kind of clicked in and out. Let me see. Let me refresh this here real quick. giving us hell today. Here, try to log in and log out, my guy. I don't know what's going on with the audio.
You can't hear me at all?
Yeah, I can't hear you again. I don't know what just happened.
Okay.
Muschamp giving us absolute hell today. I don't know what it is. Technology's great until it isn't. I don't know. Here we're gonna kick Alex real quick. I don't know. I couldn't hear him. Is it just me? Is it just me? I couldn't hear him there. We're gonna try to get Alex back in. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, now I can hear you. Sorry. I think it might have been something on my end. Technology's great until it isn't.
Who could say?
Yeah. Anyways, Beamer Ball. Great night for the brand. Great night for Beamer Ball. Special teams, you just show the goal, I think, for each football team is to win 2 of 3 facets of the game, right? It don't matter if it's offense and defense. It doesn't matter if it's defense and special teams. A lot of times, if you can win 2 of 3 facets, you're going to win the football game. And certainly we saw that on Saturday night in just typical Beamer Ball fashion. 2 block punts, both scoop and scores for touchdowns. And we talked a lot about it this preseason, Alex, that for a football team like South Carolina who – is just looking for any type of advantage they can get, and especially when you go into SEC play and you're going to be underdogs in some of these games, maybe it is special teams that you can lean on to make big plays for you, whether it be, in the punt block game, kick block game, return game, what have you. But again, obviously played a huge role in this game Saturday night.
It was gigantic. I mean, that was got 14 points off of direct punt blocks. But like, to your point, like if you're kind of on the edge as, like you're going to be in these games and you need that extra juice to get over the line, like that, like if you can get that out of special teams, like that's a huge difference maker across the season. And if we can continue to get turnovers or get points off of special teams outcomes, that's going to serve us very, very well down the stretch. And I love the aggressiveness of what we're going after with it, faking that field goal in the first quarter and then going through the onside kick and, all of those pieces. Like that's like if we can continue to stay aggressive on that, it keeps a major facet of the game and it keeps the other team kind of off balance in that facet of the game. And I think that's a good thing to have on film.
Now you were a special teamers, Alex. What makes a great special teams? Because everybody's doing the same thing basically, right? I mean, there's different variations of it, but is it really just the amount of emphasis you put on it, or like what? Because I mean that Frank Beamer was so well known. That's where Beamer Ball came from, and then obviously Shane Beamer and Pete Limbo, fantastic coaches, and you see it. You saw it last year. Now you're seeing it this year. I mean, do you think that level of emphasis they put on is what makes it so much better than I guess everybody else?
I think that it's the level of it's the level of importance they're putting on it, in addition to the fact that they've made that special teams portion fun to where you're like one deep guys want to be on those special teams units.
Right.
And so the better athletes that you can get out there, the better outcomes you're going to have. To where, most of the time that those players get held back from participating in that facet of the game, where if you open it up and you put an extra emphasis on it, like that's where you can get those athletes back out there that'll give you better outcomes.
Now, Alex, we look ahead to this weekend. Gamecocks travel to Fayetteville to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks in a game that some fairly or unfairly labeled as the biggest game of this football season. I understand where they're coming from in regards to the swing game aspect, right? Because you and I both know, Alex, you beat Arkansas on Saturday, no matter how it happens. If you beat the Hogs, what happened against Georgia State, it don't really matter. How you won, don't really matter. The fact of the matter will be you're 2-0 with Georgia coming into town. I'll ask you first this before we dive into the specifics of the game. Winning on the road, right, was a challenge for Carolina last year. That's putting it kindly. They did not have a lot of success on the road at all. Again, you've been in the locker room. You've worn the garnet and black. Just from your perspective, what goes into being successful on the road, right? It's very hard to go into SEC venues and win. Everybody has the same mindset of protect your home field. And so obviously you've got to be a sound, solid football team. But is there anything you would say mentally, right? Like what do you think will have to change? Because you're going to have to be more successful on the road this year to have a more successful season? Is there anything you can point to, or is it as simple as just go play good football and execute?
It's as simple as that, I would tell you. I mean, I think team leadership becomes big in those
I'm actually
instances.
Just thinking back to 07, right? The team you were on. You go to Athens and you win that football game. Like you've got to be a very high quality football team to go into an environment like that. I mean, I think that's why Arkansas is such a big game, because if you do find a way, it doesn't really matter how you do it. If you find a way to go into Fayetteville and win, we'll be able to look and say, hey, maybe this team, for whatever reason, it was week one. I just don't see a scenario in which you're going to beat Arkansas and you're not a high quality football team. I'm not saying you're going to win 10 games or anything, but you are going to be a solid football team. You don't fluke your way through SEC play on the road, at least I feel like.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And, do we have the weapons around us to make that happen? Absolutely. It's just like, can you get over that hump? And I feel like from a mental preparation standpoint, I don't know that it's a whole lot different, other than you're just going to be dealing with a lot more crowd noise on offense than you would be at home. Like, you're having to take a plane, you're playing an hour behind, so you're gonna have a kick at 11 a.m. in Fayetteville. And so, like, those little things, like, those definitely play a factor in it. But it's really, more than anything, it's just being as consistent as you possibly can be from a coaching standpoint, and having that leadership quality on your offense and defense, which I think we have.
I want to ask you, Alex, but I feel like the answer is so obvious. Outside of a victory, what do you most want to see from this game? How can anybody not say improve play at the point of attack? I just, how? You know what I mean? Like, that has to be the number one thing. That, and I would probably say, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, obviously, but I would say it's that, and I'd like to see Spencer Rattler take over a football game. And I'm very intrigued, his first SEC game, right? Because we've heard about, Big 12 versus SEC, the differences in defenses. Obviously, Stephen Garcia's come on our airways and said, he's preached it. The SEC's different. It's just different going against SEC defenses. How does Spencer Rattler handle that? But he won't even have a chance to handle it if that line doesn't give him some sort of protection and also a run game to complement him. So, again, I'll let you take the floor. Just thoughts on this ball game and things specifically you want and need to see from this team.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see us. I mean, I'm making an assumption here, but open the playbook up a little bit, like throw in, deep balls to Josh Vann, or, Antoine Wells or Jaheim Bell, or just opening that playbook up and kind of feature what your strengths are. Because if we go back to last year in this first game, obviously, like, pounding the rock is not a strength of ours. Except this year, now we've got somebody standing in the pocket who's, an extremely talented passer. And so, let's feature that as much as we possibly can and open that side of the playbook up. I mean, certainly, like, you've got to be able to run the ball with consistency to be a quality football team. And so if we can get a push, that would be outstanding, and, definitely average more than 3 yards a carry or 2.5 or whatever that final number came back at. But to me, like, what I'd love to see is just opening that playbook up and taking some chances, taking some deep shots, and just see what comes of it, because you got to give yourself a chance, especially as an underdog on the road.
Now, Alex, call me crazy, right? But Sam Pittman, made it abundantly clear that sounds like they're going to have 2 or 3 guys out in their secondary. And we're talking about a secondary that, again, had a tough game against Cincinnati. Do you reach a point where you scrap the run game? I mean, if you can't run the ball, do you, I have nightmares of hearing Will Muschamp and Mike Bobo say, stay stingy in the run game. Do you just reach a point where you're just trying to beat them through the air, 5 wide, just try? I mean, I understand you just can't do that every play, but at some point it feels almost counterintuitive to just continue to, for whatever reason, try to run it when you can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's just the pure fan. I have no idea what I'm talking about coming out in me, but, like, I think you do what you got to. I think you do what you got to do to win. If we got to throw it 45 times, I mean, I don't give a damn how it looks. Just find a way.
Yeah. I mean, listen, June Jones and Mike Leach have made a great career out of that exact strategy. So, yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Right. And then on the defensive side, Alex, I mean, most certainly this game, I think the biggest matchup, KJ Jefferson's a guy that's talked about by many. Many think he might be the best quarterback in the SEC, at minimum one of the best. Stopping the quarterback run game, right? I think it's almost like what you saw Georgia State do. You're going to get that on steroids. You know what I mean? And I think they'll be, obviously, he's a much better passer than the Granger kid from Georgia State. But I think limiting the quarterback run, I think you got to make KJ Jefferson one-dimensional. Bottom line, you got to pick and choose your poison. You got to pick your poison with that guy. If he's able to do both, you stand no chance. And I think keeping contain on the edge will be key in this game as well.
Yeah, not letting plays break down and him run for 15 yards if he can get to the outside would be the number one thing I would try to eliminate if I was Clayton White. Like, again, making him one-dimensional, making him have to make those reads and make those throws versus letting him get creative with his feet, that would be my top priority.
Alex
because
McGrath,
he is a large man that can run, and so that can present a lot of problems.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, it's going to be a challenge. Again, like you mentioned, the 11 a.m. local time kick, which will be very interesting. Alex, I forget, when you were at South Carolina, did you have any run-ins with Arkansas or no?
Yeah, we played at Arkansas in 2007. But that was a night kick, so that wasn't nearly as bad.
Oh my God, you were on the team that Darren McFadden ran for like 350 yards.
Oh, he did it for a couple of years in a row there.
God. Oh no, but you were on that team that, like, he had like a historic night, like a literal historic night. We still have him in the Wild Hog formation or whatever. But I was just going to ask,
with Felix Jones.
Yeah, with Felix Jones too. Your memories of playing in Fayetteville, or was that game in Little Rock?
That's Fayetteville.
Fayetteville. Okay. I was just going to say your memories though of the Gamecocks will go on the road. And this is a series I wish would return. South Carolina Arkansas for the longest time was a really, really fun game, and I'd much rather play them on a yearly basis than Texas A&M for obvious reasons. But
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, your memories of going to Fayetteville and what the Gamecocks can expect, and it's so funny, Alex. I'll say this: everyone I've talked to, former players, whether it be football, baseball, they all say the Arkansas fan base, like I've had many folks tell me Arkansas is the loudest place they play, the most intimidating place they play. Hogs fans, they bring the heat.
They do. I definitely wouldn't say it was the loudest or most intimidating. But granted, this was 15 years. God, that makes me sound old. But like, that stadium's changed a good bit. They've done a bunch of additions, so it might be that now. But I mean, it wasn't then. I mean, they certainly weren't as highly ranked. Well, maybe they were. Who could say? But it's a cool venue to look at for sure. I mean, it's definitely a big stadium with a lot of loud fans, and so that's, fortunately, again, it's an 11 a.m. kick, so hopefully it won't be as sauced as it potentially could be for a night game. But it can definitely be a loud environment, and they've got a nice squad that they're excited about. So there's going to be people out there calling the Hogs all day long, and it'll be a wild environment. I'll put it that way.
Alex, I was just looking at the AP Top 25. I believe this was just released. Yeah, Arkansas up to 19th in the country, right? Yeah, this was just released because, let's see. No, excuse me. This is week 1. So, yeah, this was released August 15th. Excuse me, my bad, because this will change. So, Arkansas is going to be a top 25, top 20 team, though. Are you surprised at the line being 7.5? And what does it tell you?
Not really. That you can't take anything that happens week 1. It's all got to be with a grain of salt. I mean, like, is Oregon 46 points worse than Georgia? Probably not. It's week 1. You got to take it with a grain of salt and kind of see where you're getting to. But I think if you look at it from a pure matchup standpoint, it's a touchdown difference. So neutral site, that's going to be what, 4? So, I mean, apparently the people in the desert don't think that lowly of us, and perhaps not that highly of Arkansas. And they didn't build those glimmering buildings by handing people money.
That is a fact, my friend. Well, Alex, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. Appreciate you taking the time as always. Looking forward to doing it again next week. And yeah, we'll catch up soon, my friend. Like I said, I really, really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, my friend.
Absolutely, man. We'll talk soon. Appreciate it.